with black pepper and a natural fat, you get the full effect, whether it's the extract or the powdered form, or however you happen to get it. In Chinese medicine, turmeric is used for chest pains, pain in the ribs or abdomen or liver area, nosebleeds, vomiting with bleeding, and heat stroke. The rhizome is also used to treat certain types of tumors and in liver disease. Chinese research has proven that zedouari, which is the old word for turmeric, is useful in reducing cervical cancer and increasing the cancer-killing effects during radiation therapy and chemotherapy. In Ayurvedic medicine, it's Indian medicine, turmeric is used for inflammation, wounds and skin ulcers, itching, stomach complaints, flatulence, conjunctivitis, constipation, ringworm, and colic. In India, zedouari, again the old word, is used for loss of appetite, tuberculosis, wounds, leukoderma, fever, bronchitis, asthma, but it is used mainly as a stomatic for digestive problems and as a general body tonic. Now, people often ask me about a book called The Lost Book of Herbal Remedies. Is it any good? Actually, yes, it's very good. It is far overpriced. It's just my opinion. You're talking to a guy that sells his books for about 20 bucks a piece, and theirs is just more like, new copies more like 30, 40 bucks a piece. And they don't source their sources very much. But other than that, it's a very good book. If you can get a copy, I have a copy. If you can get one cheap, if you can get one used, absolutely recommend The Lost Book of Herbal Remedies. My main issue with it is the title, because one, the book's never been lost, and two, the herbal remedies have never been lost. They're right there. In fact, a lot of the stuff they pull and use in their books, coming from Maud Greaves' Modern Herbal from the 1930s and Plants for a Future, a lot of the same sources I use. I just tell you where I'm getting stuff from, and I'm, let's say I'm not happy with the way they source a lot of their material, but it is a very good book. I happen to think my books are better. I don't have a lot of colorful photos because that would make my book more expensive. All of my books. If I included colorful photographs, my books would be like $40, $50 a piece, because they're, in many cases 400 pages. But I have no substantive criticisms of The Lost Book of Herbal Remedies, other than it has a really stupid title. And I think it's very important to cite your sources. I mean, that is, I don't ever pretend to be a guru that knows everything. I mean, I didn't just have like some magical insertion of information into my brain. I learned it from somewhere. And I always tell you where I learned it from. To me, that's important. To me, that's giving credit where credit's due. But, hey, that's just me. Um, they say of turmeric, it improves brain function and lowers risk of brain disease, including Alzheimer's disease and depression. Curcumin, which is the extract of turmeric, can increase the levels of brain-derived neurotrophic factor BDNF. Well, I guess it's the abbreviation for brain-derived neurotrophic factor, which is a growth hormone for the brain. Many brain diseases, including Alzheimer's disease and depression, are linked to decreasing levels of BDNF hormone, and increasing BDNF levels with curcumin can effectively delay or possibly reverse many age-related brain dysfunction diseases. By increasing BDNF, curcumin may also improve memory and cognitive function by increasing the growth of new neurons and fighting degenerative processes in the brain. Alzheimer's disease is characterized by a buildup of amyloid plaques in the brain. Curcumin crosses the blood-brain barrier and helps clear these plaques. Long-term use is required. I'm not going to argue with that statement at all. I think it's a bold statement. I think the way I would say it is, studies show that this may be the case. Uh, uh, Certainly has not been proven that turmeric can cure Alzheimer's. If it had, everybody would be taking it. But research does show that it may be helpful. And see, that's another little quibble I have with the way they do things in the book as opposed to the way I do things. I never, 100%, I never do the kind of broad statements, especially broad unsourced statements, that might give someone false hope if they have a chronic disease, especially cancer or Alzheimer's or ALS. I don't do that. That's, you know, you remember Dr. Sebi? Dr. Sebi used to be on Oprah all the time, um, published from, like, she helped him sell millions of books, and the guy turned out to be like a total fraud and really made herbalists look bad. Um, I try to actually source things and couch my words in, disclaimer type statements so that what I'm saying is this may be helpful. I want you to do your own research and make your own decisions. I'm not going to say this herb will cure cancer. If I remember correctly, and I could be wrong about this, okay, he recommended yew, like one of the most poisonous plants on the face of the earth. And wow, and there are a couple other herbalists who did this about the same time. Can't remember one fellow's name, a black guy. I think he was from Mississippi, maybe. He was kind of popular. Um, he wasn't like Dr. Sebi level treating Michael Jackson, and we all know how well that went. But he was kind of popular. There are a few others. While extracts of YEW, have been shown useful in some anti-tumor ways in clinical studies, that is a plant that should never be used without absolute expert knowledge because it will kill you stone dead in just tiny amounts. And there are probably other herbs like field bindweed, which is in the morning glory family, that are actually more effective and not so freaking poisonous that how poisonous is you? Well, let's see. There was a park I used to play in as a kid that had a couple of yew trees, and I used to climb in them, and I loved them. I thought the yew berries, which are very poisonous, were just fascinating, and they were really odd looking. And I mean, I almost like lived in those bushes when I was like, 6, 7 years old, playing all kinds of games, and I had my little toy soldiers, and played cowboys and Indians with the other kids and all that. Um, some kid ate one of those berries and died. And the city came and ripped all those yew trees out of there, and it was one of the saddest days of my life, honestly, because I had so many memories, childhood memories, attached to these yew trees. Yeah. So yeah, pretty darn poisonous. So let me, you know what? I'm gonna wrap up turmeric. It's already gone a little long. The only other thing I really need to say about turmeric, okay, so it's antiviral. I'm taking it right now for this viral bronchitis I got going on. Um, and that's probably why other people are going to the hospital and I'm not. I'm using turmeric. I'm using St. John's wort. I'm using thyme as an expectorant. All the herbs I've told you about. Uh, it's pretty serious virus. They said, I spoke with a guy at a store just the other day, and he was telling me how many people had died in the county and how in his store they were going to bring back mask mandates. Of course, I don't really believe face masking does any good for viruses, but it makes people feel better. They'd already put out the hand sanitizers by the door and up by the cash register and all that. So it's really tearing a swath through this county. And yeah, I'm not feeling great. I'm tired. I'm just incredibly tired. I think, you get tired when you're not getting a good breath. But, someone with chronic asthma who gets a respiratory virus like this, you know, most people would be going to the hospital. I'm not that sick at all. Um, my herbs are getting me through it, and God willing, along with some vitamin C and a few other things, I can shorten the duration of the virus. But yeah, mainly I'm tired. Running a low grade fever every now and then. Turmeric is a good herb that can help break a fever. Um, I like it. Now, Susan Weed, who is a very prominent herbalist, especially for women's issues and such, she did some really interesting research, I believe, in conjunction with the late Stephen Herod Buhner, which is arguably the greatest herbalist of the last 30, 40 years. I mean, he's up there with like the herbalist Michael Moore and a few others. Buhner's books are fantastic. And I am so grateful that one of the last things he did before he passed away seems to be have been from a COVID related issue was he called out woke culture. He said the way these herb schools are teaching things now is irresponsible. And I've seen this. There was an herb school, let's say in the Asheville, North Carolina area, the big hippie center of the East Coast. It's called the San Francisco of the East. Um, Fairly well respected herb center. Started giving special scholarships and course credits and such to members of the LGBTQ community, hyphen, ampersand, plus, minus, whatever, people who can't figure out what's between their legs, minorities, women, and people of color, blatantly discriminating against men and white people, even though, white is a color, and I'm actually more pink, if I was to, but you know what I'm saying, right? Um, that this woke mess has really gotten into your herb schools. Um, they spend like half the course criticizing Christians and colonizers and, like the entire history that I've written so extensively on, from the ancient Greek and Roman and Egyptian traditions up through of herbal medicine, and the ancient Jewish traditions of herbal medicine up through the Roman Empire, the great herbalists of England, Ireland, the whole Germanic folk tradition, which is the largest, most intact tradition of herbal medicine, probably well, certainly in all of Europe. Germany, with the Germanic tradition combined with Poland, I would say, uh, is without a doubt the equal to traditional Chinese medicine, Ayurveda. It is the most comprehensive, intact school of herbalism in the Western world. And, I mean, I would say much more so than the United States or Mexico. Um, you know, they dismiss it entirely. They say it's all Christians and colonizers, and we're all horrible. Well, Stephen Herod Buhner, a hippie all his life, a liberal, a socialist, um, um, iconoclast. I mean, kind of just like George Carlin. I mean, if you think of George Carlin as an herbalist, that would be Stephen Herod Buhner. Called them out and said, basically, people are going to die because of the way you're teaching herbal medicine these days. And you know, they went after him. They trashed his reputation. You know what happened to me when I said, this virus, this COVID, may have come from a lab in China, and I was kicked off of YouTube and Facebook, and suddenly thousands of strangers calling me a racist and all that. Yeah, it happened to Buhner, but times 100, because he was one of the most respected herbalists in the entire world. And just before he died, he got to see his reputation absolutely destroyed. So, anyway, I think it was Buhner that Susan Weed worked with. And I've taken classes from Susan Weed and Rosemary Gladstar and all kinds of those people that, tend to fall more into the hippie liberal category, but are really good herbalists. See, your politics don't, or your heritage does not dictate your ability to uh, learn about and